Just weeks ago, lawmakers on Capitol Hill chastised executives from social media companies, saying they weren't doing enough to protect children. The heads of Meta, TikTok, X, Snap, and Discord were called out for prioritizing profits over the well-being of teens and children. Those tech leaders all claim that they've increased safeguards to protect our kids. But just last year, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children flagged more than 105 million images and videos related to child sexual abuse. It's indisputable that the problem continues to grow and get worse. But the best weapon against exploitation is awareness. And on the positive side, the crisis is being addressed on a number of fronts. We take a look at some of those tactics and meet some of the people on the front lines of the war against digital predators. Fox 11 News In Depth starts right now. Hello, everyone. I'm Hal Eisner, and this is Fox 11 News In Depth. We live in changing times, and it's becoming more and more difficult to protect our children against those who would prey on them. Adolescents and young teens are especially vulnerable to being groomed and exploited. Denise Gomez was only a young teen when she found herself exploited by a boy she thought was a friend. She's here to tell us her story. And Patrick Erlandson is the creator of FatherCon. It showcases the unique position of fathers in the prevention of human trafficking. So Denise and Patrick, welcome. Glad to have you here. And, you know, Denise, let's start with you, because nothing is really more impactful than a first-person account or a perspective. And so let me ask you, what do you feel comfortable sharing with us?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me. I would like to start off by sharing my story. So when I was 14 years old, I received a friend request on MySpace. We then started talking on Facebook. We started using apps such as Kick and Voxer. We were talking for more than over a year. And this is someone that I couldn't wait to go home and talk to, because this person knew all my secrets, knew everything. And so we decided to meet in person. And when we did, he sexually abused me. And he tried to flip the script on me and saying that this is what you wanted, this is making love, you got in the car, you know, just trying to blame me for everything. I clearly said, no, stop, I don't want to do this, and he forced himself to me. And with that, it led to my depression, it led to my suicide attempts. It was such a such a dark place for me, Hal, and it took years of therapy, having a really great support system. It took so much time to where I can now be able to help others. And
so that impact back then, and what is it with the impact now? How have you taken that and tried to turn that into something that's a silk purse?
Yeah, so, I mean, I like to say, I like to turn that pain and turn it into something strong and beautiful. And so now I started talking to mothers. I do a presentation on how to keep your children safe online. I've talked to elementary students, middle school, high schoolers.
What do you talk to them about?
About my story. I talk to them about suicide prevention. I talk to them about the dangers of online and how they can protect themselves.
But your family, this was part of the issue, right? And your father, share that part very briefly, because I want to get to...
yeah.
What was the situation with your dad?
So when I came forward to tell my dad what happened, he was in denial. And so his response, I then just decided to keep this to myself.
I see.
Not tell anyone else.
And fathers really have a big play in this. It's not just moms that take care of the kids, Patrick. So you have FatherCon, and what is that and why?
Well, I started working with the Long Beach Human Trafficking Task Force, and I headed up the prevention subcommittee of the task force. And that led me into kind of relationships with and meeting survivors, traffickers, buyers, like all the different components of human trafficking. And just the thing that seemed overlooked and kept kept appearing was this connection to a father.
So dads get overlooked in the conversation.
They do get overlooked in the conversation, and their impact is massive, and that they contribute greatly to the vulnerability that is experienced by daughters. And when they're not present, when they're not really taking care of their sons, the sons become angry, and then they can become buyers.
And Denise, your dad left before you actually had this situation?
Yes, my parents were in the middle of a divorce, and after what had happened to me, he had left.
So dad wasn't present, and that's the point you're trying to make.
Right. When the dad's not there, I mean, one interesting thing was Jack Reynolds, he was arrested for molesting numerous children, and he was spent 12 years in prison. When he got out of prison, he was interviewed, and they asked him, well, what kind of kids do you target? And he said, it's not so much the kids that I target, but I find out if there's a father in their life, and those are the kids I avoid. And I think that really puts the exclamation point on what we're trying to do. We want to really get fathers engaged, present, and really active in their children's lives.
So for fathers that are listening right now, what do you want to say to them?
Man, you have got to be trustworthy. Your children need to be able to trust you, to come to you, and they need to know that you've got their back. I mean, I think Denise's case is a perfect example of coming in and telling something to your father and having him not stand up for her, which then drove her into even more depression and more distancing to.
There are a lot of dads that are very involved with their children. Some dads, though, think it's mom's job to kind of, right?
Right.
Isn't that how that goes?
Yeah.
And
but
that's
it's
the
not
mistake?
held up by the data. I mean, the data is that fathers have tremendous impact on whether children develop empathy, how they feel about themselves. If a child feels that they're worthy to be loved, that comes from the father much more than the mother.
So the modeling of that behavior should look like what?
It should look like someone who really spends time. I want to be with you. You are so important to me that I want to be with you. I mean, the mother's already bonded for 9 months before a child is born. A father doesn't have that. So when a father gets down on his hands and knees and is crawling on the floor and playing, or letting his daughter put makeup on him, those kind of things communicate to the child that this person wants to be with me. I'm valuable, I'm important, and I'm worthy to be loved.
This was a case, though, this was a case with Denise of meeting somebody online. Had Dad been there, had Dad been more engaged, would something have been different?
I think that if both parents I think that both of my parents just had a lot going on, and maybe if I had a little bit more supervision of what I was doing online, you know, maybe having that conversation, like how Patrick talks about, having that conversation, having that relationship to talk and be able to trust and share.
You talk to them about this now?
Yes, both my parents and my dad, he's such an amazing support. You know, it took some time, and I know it's difficult for him because he's done for his whole life to protect me, and for something to happen to me, he couldn't just believe it. He couldn't wrap his mind around it. And I think it would have just been really nice if he would have said, I'm sorry this happened to you. Let's start helping you get the help that you need. And I think that's what I also start to educate other parents, that you don't want to judge, you don't want to turn down, because once that child comes forward to you and you dismiss them, it's going to be hard for them to share.
Denise, that's a tough story, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. And Patrick, good luck with your organization, Father Con, which means...
So we got the name because we feel fathers are really being conned into what's really going to make them happy, and that they're increasingly being led to believe that the mother's the only one who's really important, and their kids, if they have a struggle, their kids will be better off without them.
So the name says what you need to do. All right, thank you both very much. And coming up next on Fox 11 News In Depth, we continue our discussion of online dangers with a woman who's created a documentary that's opening eyes to the risk kids face every time they log onto the internet. We'll be right back. Don't go away. We're back now with Fox 11 News in depth, and we're talking about online exploitation of children. It's a pervasive problem. It's growing, but for some parents, it still comes as a shock that this could actually happen to their kids. Charlene Doak-Gebauer is an expert in protecting families in this digital age, and she's the producer-director of Vulnerable to Innocence, which is a recent documentary intended to help parents understand the dangers of online exploitation of children. Charlene, thanks for joining us. Let's talk about your documentary. But first of all, let's take a look at a clip.
Do you ever wonder what's happening with social media and the people you care about?
Someone was taking images and extorting her at the other end.
Well, you know what it says. Find a kid who's lonely and you'll probably have nude pics within 30 minutes.
It's my body. I can do whatever I want with it.
No, it's not your choice. You're only 13 years old.
Is this a discussion you want to have with police?
And then the second age group we see being perpetrated on a lot are peers.
Just heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. So why did you produce this film? What was your motivation?
There have been two incidences in my family that we were affected by exploitation, sexual exploitation. I was a victim at the age of 15 by a teacher in high school. The internet was not involved then, but I have a niece at the age of 4 who was a victim by neighbors. And she lived her life to the fullest. But unfortunately, at the age of 22, she was killed by a drunk driver. And I started everything in memory of her. I decided I would help my family. I'm a computer science specialist in education and network administrator. And I thought I would use my skills to help my family overcome this tremendous trauma.
What a difficult situation. What's been the response to Vulnerable Innocence? And do parents seem to absorb the message?
Yes, they do. I've made it as user-friendly as possible. I could bounce around really big terms, but parents, every time they see it, they say thousands of people should see this film. It's in the sequence we need, and it has simple things that we can do to help protect our children.
So it helps that the message is in a video form.
Yes. I think people really like videos anymore.
Yeah, they do. They binge, right? And so when you can see something, you can hear something, that marriage of audio and video really helps to resonate and get the message through our brains. And you were already an expert in this field of child protection. You work with an international team. Tell us about that team and what they do.
Well, they're a team of people that I have met global speaking around the world. And we're called the ACIT Council, the Anti-Internet Child Exploitation Team. And all of the people in the team are in the video. And they're experts regarding media violence, child-on-child sexual assault, anything that you can think of related to online child protection. And I feel very honored to have them in the film. And they all volunteered. The minute I asked, they said, I'm in. And that's why it is a very impactful film.
There will be a couple of screenings coming up locally, and tell us where we can see those.
In Santa Monica and in Downey, the two theaters there, the LeMay Theater, I think, in Santa Monica, and the Look Theater in Downey.
So I want to ask you, did you, for one thing, did you hear Denise's story in the last segment?
Yes, I did.
And what was your reaction to that, since you yourself had a situation almost at the same age as she did?
Mm-hmm. It is, it's very traumatic, and it's something that I internalized for years. My father was good, but very much the same experience as she had. And when I started my charity, we raise money for therapy for victims of sexual exploitation online, because it's something that is a lifelong trauma, something that takes a long time to get over, if you ever get over it. And when Denise was speaking, I could identify with what she was saying.
Yeah, I can imagine that's true. And so what is it you want to tell people as sort of a bottom line, having made this film, having had this experience? What do you want to share here?
I want to share that so many people are pointing their fingers at social media, governments, police, and not realizing that there's a missing link in all of this for online child protection, and that is the parents. And we as parents have to start seeing what our children are doing online, getting involved in it. I tell everyone my theory of digital supervision. It encompasses hardware and software filters and the safety bits on all devices, but we also have to understand that the children can get around all of that. And then I talk about digital supervision, including that, but other things, like, for example, where the router is in the house. It's important to have it in an area that the parents have. Like, it could be in a closet with a key that the parents have, or it could be in the parental bedroom. And there are two reasons for this. First of all, you are taking control of the internet in your home because our children are in charge of the internet in our homes. And if we think about it, that's exactly what's going on. And the second part is that then you're telling your children, we are in charge. The parents are in charge of the internet. That is so important to get that message across to our children. And then we start talking about the safety, and we have an online contract, digital supervision contract that we talk to children about. And that's not just rules of when they can have their devices. It's telling the parents exactly what's going on, if they feel uncomfortable about pictures, if they've been exposed to pornography and things like that, and a few other steps for digital supervision.
Well, I think all of that is very, very important, and you've just had an opportunity to tell everybody about that. And thank you so very much, Charlene, for joining us. And coming up next on Fox 11 News in Depth, we talk to the man who literally wrote the book on how to protect kids from internet dangers. Parenting in the digital world also delves into the topics of pornography and cyberbullying. And we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back to Fox 11 News in Depth. I'm Hal Eisner, and when it comes to protecting our children, it's usually not a lack of desire, but a lack of understanding that gets in the way. Our next guest literally wrote the book on the subject. Clayton Cranford is the author of Parenting in the Digital World, a step-by-step guide to internet safety. Clayton, thanks for joining us. And you come at the subject from law enforcement, so everybody where you used to work?
Yeah, I was a deputy sheriff in Orange County Sheriff's Department for 20 years.
And you worked with this subject right here?
Yes, indeed, yeah. I started out as a deputy, but the best job I ever had was working in schools as a juvenile detective. And that's where all this came from. And so all of this being the book that we just showed everybody, what is it that you tell people in this book? I want a very clear message to parents that their child desperately needs them in the digital world. Parents, my generation, I raised two boys who are now in college, but we all are dealing with a situation where we grew up without the internet. So most parents either don't know what they need to talk about or the fact that they need to have this conversation in the first place.
In all three of these segments on this show so far, we've talked about parents. We talk about the exploitation of kids, but we talk about parents.
Yes.
And the importance of parents being rocks for their kids. Talk about that.
Well, your kid is going to tell you, I got this. I'm perfectly fine. I don't need your help or intervention here. And there's just too much experience to show us that this is not the case. All my stories revolve around a good kid who makes a bad choice and a parent who does not know what's going on. So the good news is that all of these problems really boil down to a couple of things which are very solvable, which is an unfiltered and unsupervised internet. And the third thing maybe is, how do you talk to your kid about some of these issues?
With that work experience of yours, you must have seen some things that would be very hard for a lot of parents to stomach.
Yeah. Denise's story is a story I know well. I've sat across from parents who've had a child who was a victim of sexual exploitation, online or otherwise. And when a parent sees a kid broken in ways that aren't easily fixed, it changes everything for you. So having those experiences, I just realized we need to have this conversation. And we do it with parents, but we also speak at thousands of schools every year, hundreds of thousands of students over the last 10 years. And kids are going to make mistakes. That's what kids do. That's why they need a parent to come in and set up a situation where they can interact online safely.
Let me ask you about this. I happened to open up to a part of the book that says parental controls for Chromebook, parental controls for Mac OS, parental controls for iOS. I mean, it's one page after another, parental controls for Android. You hit them all here.
We do. Yeah. So that's one piece of the puzzle. Like, making your child's device safe is really important, obviously. We can leverage technology. There's apps that you can put on your child's device that will monitor what they're doing and alert you. The one that I've been using is Our Pact, works amazing. But on the other end, we need to have children who feel safe to come to mom and dad and have these conversations. So there's a lot of conversations, and the book also walks you through those step by step.
Some of what we hear, though, is that kids are more sophisticated now. And because they're more sophisticated now, they think they can do a lot of other things that we, when we were kids, not so sophisticated, couldn't do. So what do you say about that? I mean...
Well, I mean, every parent who sees my parent presentation says, man, am I glad there was no internet when I was a kid. And the news is that your kid is you with the internet. So kids are going to make bad choices. They're just doing it in a world now where they can reach not just the people in your neighborhood or the people who live in your city. They're reaching 3.5 billion people online. And there's a lot of people online who are very good at manipulating children into making bad choices, like sending them inappropriate or intimate images.
So parents need to understand technically how to deal with these devices. I know you deal with that in here.
Yes.
But what would you say to them right now?
I would say, go look in the book, go to my website, download the contract. We have it in 5 different languages, and just walk through it with your kid. Have a conversation about each point. It's going to cover things that you need to talk about that you didn't realize you need to talk about, and then open up that door so that your child, in a situation where they feel that they're cornered, like a person has an image of them and now they're blackmailing them, they know, because you've already told them, that no matter what is going on, I'm a safe person to come to.
In 15 seconds, what is that contract?
It's the Internet and Mobile Device Usage Contract on cybersafetycop.com.
And the point of that contract is?
It's a script for your conversation with your kid.
And, you know, sometimes we think we have trusting relationships with our kids, but they're good actors.
You do. But the problem is your kid is different online. The way they behave online is something very different than what maybe you're seeing in the real world.
Yeah. It's a conundrum, right?
It's solvable, but it is not easy.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. Clayton Cranford and Fox 11 News In Depth will continue right after this break. Don't go away.